Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. I wanted to show you a book today that I found. Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys Meet Dracula. It's possible that's backwards, I'm so sorry. But firstly, what an awesome crossover. Secondly, this got me thinking about Nancy Drew and who wrote Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys. I know who wrote Dracula. And so I did a little investigating, Nancy Drew style. Nancy Drew was a product of the Stratemeyer Syndicate, which was started by Edward Stratemeyer, who really liked these rags to riches, adventure-y type boys' stories written by Horatio Alger, who it turns out was really not such a nice guy. But anyway, he really liked these fast-paced stories, and he decided he had written and published some of his own stories, and he decided that he would like to publish books for children. He decided that in order to maintain the pace that he would need to produce these books for, children that were voracious readers who wanted the next installment from their favourite character, he couldn't have one person writing them and he couldn't write them. So he came up with the idea of the Stratemeyer Syndicate. So basically he started this syndicate in 1905 and he wrote outlines for books and then he gave them to ghostwriters, and then the ghostwriter would write the book and he would publish it. The ghostwriter would be paid a wage, and I think a pretty good wage, like 3 months' wages. And then they would also sign away their rights to any royalties from the book going forward. So with Nancy Drew, he came up with the idea, a basic outline, and he advertised in the newspaper, and he found a lady called Mildred Wirt Benson. So she was a journalist. So she agreed to write some Nancy Drew books, and she was given these basic outlines. So really the Nancy Drew character was created by Mildred Wirt Benson. She filled in the details, and she made Nancy an independent, determined girl that she was, or young woman. Turns out that she later got changed, but we'll discuss that in a minute. So Mildred Wirt Benson wrote the first 4 novels. She wrote 23 out of the first 30 Nancy Drew books, including the first 4 that were released in 1930. So The Secret of the Old Clock, The Hidden Staircase, The Bungalow Mystery, and The Mystery of the Lilac Inn. So fast forward to Edward Stratemeyer dying. The syndicate is then run by his daughter Harriet for many more years. Harriet had also written some of the Nancy Drew books, but she went back later and she edited the books written by Mildred. And so she took out some dated and stereotyping kind of language and dated references and things like that, but she also changed Nancy's character to make her more demure and sensible, a little bit more grown up, polite, that type of thing. I cannot wait to get hold of some of those early ones to compare. Those early books, the first 3, will actually enter the public domain next year in 2026. So I'm really hoping that some Nancy Drew lovers may come up with some really awesome new crossovers like this one. Maybe they can leave Nancy's character the way it was. So I haven't read this book yet, but I will. It's actually not even, so it's quite thin, I'll show you. So it's just a little thin paperback, but it actually contains 3 books. So there's Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys Meet Dracula, The Haunted House, and Flight to Nowhere. Apparently these were from a television series. So the guy on the front, this is Nancy Drew, and these are the Hardy Boys. I thought this guy looked a lot like Chevy Chase, but I was disappointed to find out that he's not related, as far as I know in any way, but he was in Baywatch and he married Kirstie Alley. So, but the Haunted House on the front looks so awesome. It's like a modern reworking of a gothic romance. It's like a gothic teen detective story. So 2 of my favourite genres. Anyway, so Mildred Wirt Benson, she was a journalist. She worked in Ohio, so she'd published lots of newspaper articles. She'd also written some books under her own name and some under pseudonyms, I think, so which you may have heard of. The Penny Parker mysteries, the Madge Sterling mysteries, Flash Evans, Ruth Darrow flying stories, and the Dana girls. I think my handwriting is really messy. So anyway, I thought that was really exciting. After 1979, the Stratemeyer Syndicate sort of ceased to be. It was bought out, I think, sort of consumed, I imagine it like a bacteria kind of engulfing a small company, by Simon & Schuster. They kept publishing, so the Stratemeyer Syndicate published 59 books, I think. Then the Simon & Schuster kept it going to 175 books, so you can see where, of course they're not written by the same author. I don't know why I ever thought they were. And they've given her a bit of a rebrand as well. So there's the Nancy Drew Files, Nancy Drew Diaries, Girl Detective. And these are, making Nancy a little bit more enjoyable for a modern reader. And so some of the other books the Stratemeyer Syndicate did are the Hardy Boys. So that wasn't Franklin Dixon, it was ghostwriters. They did a heap of other ones. And they also, this model was also adopted by other companies sprang up. So the one that's most interesting to me is Whitman, which I think was also Golden. I'm not really sure how that worked, but it was Trixie Belden. I have one of those. So Trixie, this is a new-ish version. So I think possibly Julie Campbell wrote the first few, maybe the first 6 or something. And then after that, Syndicate. Catherine Kenny was the pseudonym of all those authors. But I loved Trixie Belden growing up. This was my favourite series. And I don't care that it was written by ghostwriters. So I don't know if you care, but I really don't. And I really, really want to read some of the early Nancy Drews. So I'm on the hunt. And I'll be back with something else bookish one day soon.